Welcome to Opinion Havers, a movie podcast for crime nephews. I'm Cody.
And I'm Tyler.
Tyler, what did we watch?
We watched Baby Driver.
More importantly, why did we watch Baby Driver?
Cody, let me tell you, you may not be aware of this, but something happened recently, Cody. Something momentous in our lives, all right? You finished your basement theater. Now, as I say, you may not be aware of this, but Cody, you're probably aware of it, all right? So in my infinite wisdom, I suggested we watch a special movie.
Yeah.
Special. I gave you a list of movies. One of them, what was it? Interstellar, a movie you've actively complained that we have never actually recorded on. Mm-hmm. And you chose Baby Driver.
Well, the thing about Interstellar is I watched it.
So
did you watch it too?
We watched it together.
We watched it to record it, and then you were like, honestly, I'm gonna have to rewatch it to do it. So that's, it's not even like it's not like I refused to watch Interstellar. I watched it. I sat down, I viewed all 4 hours of it, and I was like, this is gonna be real fun to talk about. And then, you were like, I'm gonna be honest, I tuned out about 3 minutes into that movie or whatever it was.
The whole thing was we watched it, and then like 2 months later, you're like, all right, you ready to record this thing? And it's like, I don't remember any of this movie. I don't remember.
What our listeners can take away from this is that our time management is average to low, It's bad. It's not good. But you know how efficient we were this time? Yesterday morning, you're like, a movie is happening. Which one is it? And I said The Baby Driver. I got my friend to meet me. Here's the thing. I was like, I want to watch it for sure. But I want to watch a disc so I get the best audio experience. That's the whole point. I have surround sound once again in my life. Near and dear. I made my friend bring his copy of it. And I borrowed it. 4K Ultra, whatever disc. Plopped it in there. Sounded amazing. You can't buy Baby Driver anywhere. It's not in Redbox. It's not at Target. It's not at Walmart. It's not at Best Buy. In stock, at least. All of these places will ship it to you 100%. That is feasible. It is 100%. You can buy it on Amazon. You can get it as long as you don't want it within 12 hours. The only way to get it within 12 hours, so far as I know, is to know a guy. I know a guy. I did it. I watched it. And let me tell you about this. Tyler, I always ask you the synopsis. Let me tell you. I'm taking over. All right? I'm not asking. I'm telling. I'm doing it. Baby Driver is a movie by Edgar Wright based on a Simon and Garfunkel song. That's all you need to know, but I'll tell you a little bit more. It's about a hot youth played by Ansel Elgort. He drives cars, and he has tinnitus. He's a getaway driver. And he's a sweet boy. That's all you need to know, all right? And let me tell you, it's like if a music video was also an action film, which was also a comedy, all right? It's all together. It's the music, it's the action, it's the driving, it's the heisting, and there's a sweet little story, too, with a love interest. Amazing. What a great movie. I loved it. Tyler, what did you think?
I liked it. I thought it was a good time. That's what I thought. It was a good time.
You texted me mad. You were mad at me. You're like, how did you make me wait this long to see this movie?
Yeah. I blame you exclusively for that. All right. It's your fault. I'm looking at your face, and I'm seeing whose fault it is. All right.
When did we start this podcast? What year?
20 years ago? I don't know. 2018? 2017?
This movie is 2017. Here's the thing about this movie. I saw it, and I was mad because no one else saw it, No one else was watching this movie. I was like, this is a great movie. I went to a dance. I don't like dances. But, once a year I'd go to one and then realize it was a mistake.
Right.
I was at a dance. I was like, I'm not having a good time. And I convinced like 5 other people to leave the dance and go to a showing of Baby Driver like Friday at 10 p.m. It was delightful. So, Tyler, maybe if you went to more dances, you would have seen this movie. Like, that's how much I like this movie. I was like, I got to see it a second time, and I have to leave the current social function I'm at to go do it, and I got other people to go with me. So that's where we're at, all right?
So, Cody, you're basically what you're saying is you're the person that my mom warned me about at the dances. You went to the dance with all the sweet boys and girls, and you said, "Come with me, children. Come to see this R-rated heist movie.
Yeah.
Follow the devil, children." That's what you did.
Yeah.
And they followed you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, I was like the Pied Piper. You know, I was just leading them. I was fluting and skipping, and we made it over to the R-rated movie. It was great.
Like, real talk, though. You had it, like, somebody... That's like something like an old lady would use in a Sunday school lesson, right? Like, this is what happens when you go to dances.
Yeah. It's been a long time since that happened, but I just remember being like, I'm going to go. And they're like, oh, I want to see that too. I was like, I guess a gaggle of us are leaving this dance. You know, there's all those people. Here's the thing about dance people. This is what no one tells you.
Yeah.
Dance people, like the people that put on the dances and love to dance, they just assume that everyone is the same way.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how I have this podcast assuming that other people want to watch movies like this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But dance people are the worst. You know, I've got this podcast out here, and if you want it, you can seek it out, right? Dance people are like, obviously, we're going to do a dance. You're coming, because why wouldn't you? It's like, because I don't like dances. No, but it'll be fun. I was like, right, but I'm telling you I don't have fun. It's like, no, it's a dance. You love to dance. I love to dance. It's like, no, you love to. I don't. You don't understand. I can't tell you how many times I had this conversation, you know? And, you know, it's a better time than to dance. I'll tell you right now, baby driving. It's a better time.
I mean, you're right.
Can confirm.
You're right.
I spent a full 35 minutes of that dance, regretted all of it. Spent 2 hours in the theater watching Baby Driver, 0 regrets.
I feel you.
Tyler,
I feel that.
Tyler, you ever go to a dance and just leave? Let me tell you, it's very empowering. Feels great. It's like I've got the control of my life back. You know what I'm saying?
Cody, let me tell you. Let me regale you with a story here. I went to a dance once. I had been coerced, as everyone who goes to a dance has been, by the 4 people that actually want to be there. I got there and I sat there in the car and had that like, I don't want to be here moment, you know? I made myself walk in. I stood there. I said hi to one of my friends. You know? Realized most of my friends weren't there, and the handful that were there were like the people that they were the dance people, so it's like you're not hanging out with them. They're gone. All right. Unless you're willing to sprint around the room all night, you're not keeping up with these people, and I'm not willing to do that. So I stood there and looked around. So I walked in the timeline is walk in the building. Walked in the door. We're about 5 seconds into the dance. What's up, dude? Oh, hey, dude. Gone. Friend gone. Friend barely says hi to me. Gone. Stood there for another maybe 15, 20 seconds. Said, all right. Turned around and walked out. And then went home. And I was like, well, that was a waste of gas. And it was, like you said, it's empowering. And then got a text an hour and a half later from that same friend. Hey, man, where'd you go? I went home over an hour ago.
Oh, man. If you're a dance person, you're listening, I just need you to re-examine your life, you know?
Yeah. Just accept that dances suck.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just let's sink in with everybody for a second.
Nah. Bad.
So Baby Driver's pretty good, though.
Really is. Is there anything else we need to say to tee this one up?
No.
Cool. I'm ready if you're ready.
I'm ready. So are we just gonna hop right into this Subaru that you got here, this, and just dive right into it, just ran right on, wham, right over there. Let me tell you, Cody, I live next to a road. All right,
Ooh,
as most people
fancy.
do. Here's the difference: I live next to a 4-lane highway, and the acoustics of it are that I hear everybody's engines. And when I tell you, Cody, I've developed a hatred for people who probably love this movie. So much so that I've considered, I'm like, I think I'm gonna have to become like some kind of, I need to get some kind of projectile weapon and be the guy that just takes little pot shots at people when they're revving their engine. When you drive a crappy, rusted out 92 Civic, your engine should not be so loud that it wakes me up at 2 o'clock in the morning because you're having to go from stopped to going. Like if you're like firing off that line super fast, that's one thing. But when I look down there and you are backing out of your parking spot, and like, I need you to stop. I need you to get rid of that car or I'm going to blow it up. All right, that's your only two options. All right, I'll park my car next to it so mine gets blown up too. I got insurance. It'll be fine. All right, you don't have insurance. Let's be real. If you have that car, you don't have insurance on that car and you're a bad person. Am I right or am I right?
You're definitely right. And I think this is just another argument for the electric car, you know?
Yeah.
The electric cars, too quiet, you know?
Oh, I know.
I mean, they'll just leave you in peace and they can still go fast, you know?
Yeah. Anyway, so do you want to rant first or do you want me to rant first? Who's ranting first?
I mean, how spicy are you feeling?
I mean, I'm riled up now thinking about the people that are revving their engines going half a mile an hour. Yeah, it's like, shift out of neutral, dude. I got it.
It's the key.
That's the solution.
That's a good pro tip. If you're the kind of guy that, drives a manual, I would advise getting out of neutral, you know?
Yeah.
It's a good place to be. If you're trying to get some momentum, I would recommend not neutral for gears.
So here's what you do. You go from neutral. You're at the stoplight, right? You go into first gear, right?
Yeah.
Start going. And when the engine is like, wah, second gear, wah, third gear. All right, shift. That's the key. So the clutch, that's the pedal on the left side. All right, and you push that down, and you go into the other gear. So you got your first, and then you can go pop pop down. You just go pop pop down into second, and then you go up to the right and up. And that's third gear. And then guess what, Cody? Oh, we got fourth gear. That's pop, pop. That's just down again twice. Now, a lot of people seem to like to go from second gear back into first gear. That's not what you want to do. You want to go second, third, all right?
You're going up in numbers.
Yeah. When a semi using his air brakes is less loud than you, you have a problem. Or you got a problem. It's quieter than you. That's a problem.
You seen that SNL skit? It was like a pretty recent one. Where it's like a vehicle heist, and it's Chris Red, and he's like it's like the mastermind and the hacker and the driver, So Chris Red is the driver, and they do the whole thing to get him in the car, and he doesn't know how to drive stick, like he doesn't know what it is. He's like, there's some sort of weird driving system on this thing, and they're like, what are you talking? There's like an extra pedal. It's like, yeah, it's a manual. do you not know how to drive manual? It's a pretty good one.
Sounds good. I was asked recently if I knew how to drive standard by somebody the same age as me. And I was like, first off, shut your face. All right.
Standard.
Second off, yes. The guy asking me with the attitude, actually, the guy who initiated the question directed at me is slightly older than me. And then asked it with, can you even drive a standard? Like, I'm not the youngest person in the car. The youngest person is the one who owns the manual transmission car. Yes, I can drive a stick. Then the older guy, not old, again, a few years older maybe, was like, oh, I can't drive one. I was like, what? Then why'd you come at me with such ferocity? Like, what about you, young whippersnapper? Do you even know what this is? Yes. What do you mean? Do I? Yes, I know how to drive a stick shift. I was mad. I was fuming.
Pumped up.
I was
Tyler,
like,
I think.
What?
I was gonna say, I think you're ready to go. I'd like to hear.
I'm ready.
I'd like to hear your 5 minutes on Baby Driver.
I'm ready. Cody, shut your face. I'm going. I'm so ready. I got no notes, but Cody, here's what you need to know, okay? The second the movie started, I was like, oh my gosh. That's when I texted you. I was like, I'm so mad at Cody for making my life actively worse in a very pointed and aggressive way by being like, never saying, Tyler, you need to watch Baby Driver. Never once. Never once was I've been pointing at Harold and Maude, and I've been pointing at all these like countless 70s and 90s rom-coms, but never once Baby Driver. And I felt offended by that. The music was amazing, as it always. Edgar Wright, that seems to be like, he seems like he's a man that just wants to make a 2-hour-long music video. And you know what? Let him do it. All right, let him live his dream, Cody. Give him $1 billion and say, make me a music video. All right. And you know what? It'll be worth every penny. You'll probably try to give him more money, and he'll be like, no, thank you, sir. No, thank you. You know, because he's a good man, probably. I don't know. Maybe he diddles dolphin babies. I don't know what he does in his spare time. All right. All I know is he made a fantastic film, Cody. A film, a theatrical experience. Cody, I started to watch this movie. It came up, and it was like, oh, it's available for streaming. And I was like, cool. Beep. And then it was like, this movie is rated TVMA. And I was like, nope. And I rented it. I was like, I'm not doing this. There's no way. I was like, there's no way that's good. Then you, in your sly way, texted me a link to eBay of a used steelbook. Cody, I'll have you know, I went up to your thing. I ordered a brand new steelbook of this movie before the movie was a quarter of the way through. All right, it is on its way. I don't know when it's getting here, but it's shipping to my home currently. All right, it's flying through the sky to me, so it will now slip right on into with all the other steelbooks. All right, as you know, that's the highest praise, Cody. Highest praise. All right. I was just so glad that my wife had the car and I didn't have to go anywhere after watching this movie. Because, like, this is one of those movies, you know, when you get in the car and you're like, all right, it's go time, and you drive like a maniac, right? It's like when you play GTA for like 2 hours and you get in and you hit the gas immediately and you're like, oh, no, I can't do that. And then you wrap your car around a telephone pole. We've all been there, Cody. Anyway, like, he's just a sweet boy, all right? Kevin Spacey's in it, which I don't know. Is this before or after Kevin Spacey was problematic? Give me before or after. Cody, tell me. Don't tell me, just before. Before, after, during. Ugh, that's rough. That's a rough. Because then it's him with Baby, and he's like, Baby. He calls him Baby, and I'm like, I'm uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable most of the time with Kevin Spacey there, but he did a good job, you know. Kevin Spacey, he's Kevin Spacey. You know what I'm saying? Cody, look at me. How would you feel if Kevin Spacey called you Baby? Would you feel good about it? No, you wouldn't. That's right. But this one, I felt good about this, though, Cody, because it's a good movie. They're driving the music. He's got his crime nephew. He's like, take the nephew with you. The nephew's been there the whole time when they're casing the joint. All right? And the nephew, they get in, the nephew, he's clocked all the cameras. He knows where everyone is. And he's like, here's what you do all this stuff. And it's like, this nephew, Cody, I want a crime nephew. You stole my thing. You stole fizzy lifting drinks. You coward. But you're right. And I want a crime nephew, all right? I want a criminal mastermind nephew. It's all anybody deserves in their life, all right? I feel like I've earned that, Cody. Look at me. I've earned that, all right? They're doing this whole, I like the whole storyline where it's like, he's there, he's a good kid, but he like boosted cars, and he stole basically the wrong guy's car, and the guy like just lets him take it, and then it's like, all right, now you owe me a ton. There's nothing in the trunk of that car, Cody. Let's be honest. There's nothing in that car. Kevin Spacey just manipulating sweet little old Baby, all right? Baby, he's out here. He's making little mixtapes of all the quotes that this guy's had of him. Every time he says he's fast or something, he's like, we got, you know, he's doing his little music things, and I was just like, oh, he's a sweet boy. He's got a little tape of his mom, and he's doing all this "he's so fast" thing, and he's like, oh, he's so fast, and then he's just like, he's so sweet, and then at the end when they're like, oh, they're doing his trial, and it's just like all the times it like closed the loop, it's like here's the loop of the story, and it closed it where it's like, oh yeah, here's all the people who were like, he's so good, being like, he's so good. You know what I mean?
So I have to cut you off right there. You've had your time, okay? You've had your time. Now let me have my time.
Okay.
Here's the thing about Edgar Wright movies. I got in a fight, an argument with my wife last night about this. She didn't like Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim's one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time, right? This is what I realized about Edgar Wright. I've seen all his movies, okay? So I come from a place of knowledge and understanding. He doesn't make movies like, back to back. Some directors have a movie like every year. And I feel like he's like every 2 or 3 years. He's a writer, director, and here's what he does better than anyone, I think. Everything is so detailed, and he pairs like really detailed scripts with being the director, and he's like, in addition to having really detailed like dialogue and stuff in the story, we're gonna have really detailed images throughout the movie. Like they're all gonna tie into each other, So, for example, the TV has Monsters Inc. says that line like, we're a team, nothing's more important than our friendship, So then he says that line to Kevin Spacey. And then at the end of the movie, Kevin Spacey like feeding me lines from Monsters Inc. Like it's one of Sam's favorites, his nephew, the crime nephew. So he's so smart about that stuff where he's like, all right, I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it in here. We're going to have a quote about Dolly Parton, talking about need a little rain before you can see the rainbow. Then at the end of the movie, there's a rainbow. Right? So like there's things like that where it's like, oh, this dude he's had this idea since 1995. That's when he got the idea for the movie. Yeah, it blows your mind. Tyler's mind's blown. He's had this idea for the movie since 1995. And he got in advance to do the script in 2007. So he's been working on this one for a minute. And then finally he was able to make the movie. And I think it just shows. And it shows in all of them. Like Shaun of the Dead is the same way, where he's like, no, we're going to do, it's a movie. The moving pictures, they're going to be part of the story too. And that's what I love about what he does. And he has really fun dialogue, but also he has really fun visual like gags and humor and like really cool images. So in that way, I think he's one of the best directors in the biz because he understands that so well. And that's what's so special. For a film boy like me, I'm a boy, right? I'm a boy who likes films. In other words, a film boy. And for a film boy, you love a writer-director. Someone who can write a good story and then bring it to fruition is the best. And that's why Edgar Wright is my boy. And Bailey was like, oh, I feel like he's like a really famous director. And in reality, I have just talked about him a lot, which is why she knows his name. Because he's not Steven Spielberg. Like, he hasn't made like movies that everyone has seen. But people who are in the know are all in on Edgar Wright. They love him. The indie film crew is all about him. There's just so many great moments in the movie. Edgar Wright loves a good oneer. There's probably the best oneer of any of his movies in this one. It's the intro, not the intro. It's after the heist. The next day, he's getting the coffee for their like post-heist meeting, and it's the Harlem Shuffle, and he's singing, he's lip syncing to the words, and it's all going right. He slides. The song talks about doing a slide, right? He's trumpeting. There's a trumpet in the window, and he's playing the trumpet. The trees, they have the yeah yeahs. Those are written on the trees as they go. Just like all these tiny little details where you're like, this is like the best 2 minutes. To like get to know a character ever. And it's just fun, it's super fun. That's what I love about it. Our boy, Baby. Here's my favorite thing about Baby. He has so many sunglasses on his person at any given time. Makes me sad. John Bernthal whacks the sunglasses off his face. Or, like he takes the sunglasses he's wearing or whatever. And then like you look back and he's got a different pair of he just like Doesn't even worry about it. He pulls out a pair of sunglasses from his bomber jacket, throws them on, whacks them off. Like he's got sunglasses for days, and that's the kind of preparation. That's a man that you want on your team. The guy who's like, you know what, someone's gonna take these sunglasses, but I have 2 more on my person, so it's not even a problem. Fun fact: this is what I'm talking about with Edgar Wright being so detailed. He was like, well, yeah, he has all the iPods and the sunglasses because he stole cars. So if you steal a lot of cars, you'll probably end up with a lot of iPods and sunglasses. So I'm like, oh, brilliant. Like those things aren't said in the script. When you think about it, you're like, this dude has thought of everything in this movie. Whereas like, no, this is how it goes. And that's my guy right there.
Cody, I'm gonna have to cut you off. No, don't even. Oh no, you can't sneeze. You're cut off. Yeah, I did. That was probably one of my favorite scenes. You're right. Like I'd kind of forgotten about it until he said that, like, takes his glasses, puts them on, and then I like how he just like turns. It's like one smooth motion where he like turns, sees he's still sunglasses, just smacks him off his head, and then like a second later, just like whoop, another pair.
So good. Just so many good bits. I love what I say. They're talking about songs, right? And I think the love story with Lily James' character Deborah is really sweet. And like they both like music, and so they're talking about music. And she's like, "There's only one song about Deborah, and it's not even about Deborah." That's a great song, by the way. Beck's Deborah, fantastic song. And it's not even about Deborah. It's about how this guy wants to get with Deborah and her sister. Like her sister Jenny, and then with Deborah too. Whatever. And it's this thing. It's happened to everyone. Where he's like, yeah, the band Trex. She's like, you mean T-Rex? Like, we've all done that, right? Everyone's gone out there and they've said the wrong thing where you're like, well, I've never said it out loud, so when I said it out loud, it was wrong. You look like an idiot. We've all been there. And you know what? Another perfect moment like that in another Edgar Wright movie, in Scott Pilgrim, where young Neil is singing along to the song and he absolutely sings the wrong word. Then he corrects himself. I just love, you can tell Edgar Wright's a music lover, He's been there, and he puts it in his movies. That's what I like.
Yeah.
I love the humor, but I think, too, like, I don't know. What I like about it is it's such a great blend of, like, music, heist/action, and humor. And it's got, like, I think the movie actually has, like, really great tension, because the whole thing is, like, Baby Driver, he's in Doc's pocket, right? So like he's kind of obligated to be his driver. So he's like, okay, I'm stuck in this world. I don't want to be in it, but I am. So he's just making the most of it. And when he wants to get out, it makes such a great tension because it's like, oh, he's done. He doesn't owe a debt anymore. Maybe he'll get out. And instead, he just has to spend the whole movie like being around these criminals and be like, oh gosh, am I going to be able to get out? And it just built a great tension, I thought. So I love that balance, how he's able to mix together the humor, a great tension, and some really great stunts and driving and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, is there more to say, Cody?
I have so much more to say. So much to say.
I really, probably my favorite like dynamic, honestly, was I can't remember his name. Was it John Hamm's character and Baby? Buddy and Baby. Because it seemed like you kind of felt like he's like, oh, I see. He's like he's like sees himself in him, like remembers, because he references back. He's like, I started out as a driver too, and like he's like they're bonding over their song. Their lucky song or whatever, and he has the line after their first heist where he's like, next time Doc calls, don't pick up, like, do me a favor, next time Doc calls, don't pick up. And Doc's like, shut up, buddy. Like, don't listen to him, baby.
Yeah.
And then you have like, so it just seemed weird, like how they're these criminal people, but you got Buddy who is like, I like him. I see him, but I see like he's like, I don't want him to turn out like me. And then Doc, I like how often it seemed unsure how Doc really felt about Baby. You know, where he like is like, oh yeah, one more job and then we're square. You know, and you don't owe me anything anymore. And then he's like, oh,
right, but that's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
oh, but yeah, like I think like you were about to say, then they see each other, and he's like, you know, you can either be my driver, or I can kill everybody you love and break your legs, you know, and like,
Right. Well, I love that the interaction when he is all paid up because they're at the car and he's like, what is he? Or maybe it's right before he's like, hey, one more job and we're done. And Doc's like, no, one more job and we're straight. Like Doc never gave him that permission. He's like, no, like, yeah, you're paid up. Doesn't mean we're done. Of course not. So, but you're right. Like, I love the Baby's like, no, I'm out. And Doc's like, he's like, no, I'm going to call you again. Like, we're not done. You're my lucky charm. But yeah, I really enjoyed, you talked about the Kevin Spacey thing. I think literally it was like Baby Driver came out and then like 2 or 3 weeks later, Kevin Spacey went under fire for all like the crappy stuff he's done. So it was such a bummer because like I was like, oh, Baby Driver was so good, and like I just want a bigger audience for Edgar Wright because he's so good. So it's just a bummer that it's like, it's not fair that like, okay, yeah, Kevin Spacey's an a-hole. That doesn't mean we should dismiss like everyone else who did such a great job in this movie, because I think all the actors did great in their own right, so it just stinks. Where it's like, Kevin Spacey out here ruining it for everyone else,
Yeah, I mean, as I was just looking at that Baby Driver was the last like, so he had his last few episodes of House of Cards that they'd already done, but Baby Driver's like the last big budget movie that he's been in.
Yeah, because later that year he'd already shot for All the Money in the World, and that's the one they replaced him. So they reshot all his scenes with Christopher Plummer, and since then I don't think he's done anything. But that was the same Oscar year as this movie because this movie was nominated for sound and editing. I have a question for you because here's my biggest gripe with the movie.
No gripes.
Great movie, obviously. Now here's my thing. Some of the dialogue isn't as crisp as that. For a movie with amazing sound, like sound effects and sound editing and mixing and all that stuff, and the way it times with the music and all that, I wish the dialogue was a little crisper, a little cleaner. Ansel Elgort is kind of a mumbler. And so like the dialogue is written so beautifully, but then there are times where it's just like, I feel like we're not picking up as much audio as I want, and the lines aren't popping the way I want. So here's my question to you. This is Edgar Wright's first American movie, right? So his other movies take place in the UK or Canada. Do you think the dialogue would pop better if it was British? So imagine this movie takes place in London. Same deal, but everyone's speaking in a British accent.
I don't think so, because I think everyone else. I think the only issue I was like, I was about to be like, "You're crazy. I don't know what you're talking about." But then you brought up the only problem I ever had with some of it was being like, "Wait, what did he say?" Because he'd be like, "Yeah, like what?" Wait, yeah. I know what you just delivered was gold, but what did you say?
Yeah.
But all the other people, I felt like all the other lines and everything were fine. The only other character I had trouble understanding was the butcher. And I was just like, what? Do you have an accent? Do you not have an accent? Are you speaking English or are you speaking another language? That guy flowed so much between accent, not accent, and then not speaking clearly enough to be sure that he's not, or that he is or isn't speaking English. So that I'm like, I don't know what you're saying right now.
Well, you brought up the butcher. I would say that I think like the sing-songiness of the dialogue would have popped a little better if it was like a UK thing, but that's just my opinion. So something to think about. If you know his work, like for Edgar Wright, I'm just thinking about like he's done 3 movies with Nick Frost and Sean. Oh gosh, what's his name? Not Sean. Oh gosh, the guy from Shaun of the Dead. What's his name? fine.
I don't know.
He's done 3 movies with those guys, and they have
out.
such a good like chemistry and delivering his lines. But just something to think about. You brought up The Butcher, so this movie has a bunch of musician cameos. So that's Paul Williams from whatever, I forget. He's in a very famous band. Is it Genesis?
Probably.
And he's also in like what are the Smokey and the Bandit? He's in those movies, and he's a very well-known singer. He's done stuff with Daft Punk. I think he's from Genesis, I believe. So, very well-known guy. Great singing voice. Very interesting singing voice. He's in it. He plays the butcher. Also, the intro song, the Bell Bottoms, the lead vocalist and guitarist for that track is John Spencer, and he's the jail guard that delivers him a letter in the prison. Finally, this is my favorite one. Doc, when they're in that fancy Italian restaurant, he is talking with Killer Mike from Run the Jewels and one of the members of Outkast. So those are the people he's talking to at the restaurant, and I think they each have a track in this movie. So they got a lot of musicians to cameo in the movie, which is super fun. Yeah. And yeah, so a few cool cameos in there.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, Cody, you think Simon Pegg should have played Baby?
He's too old is the problem. But if this movie was made in 2007...
let me stop you right there. No, right. Simon Pegg could never have played that role. There is no way. Simon Pegg, I love Simon Pegg. He's very great. But yeah, absolutely not. There's no way.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing I've never seen. So I've seen all of Edgar Wright's movies. I have not seen Spaced, which is his TV show with Simon Pegg, and it's supposed to be excellent. So that is a commitment I will make to watch Spaced. It's supposed to be very good. Soundtrack is great. I think more movies should have gunshots in time with the music.
It always is so great. So they do it in trailers all the time, and then they're cowards when it comes time to the movie. What's the deal with that?
That's because here's why. I'll tell you why. No one's as bold as Edgar Wright, first off. Second, they never know what track they're going to use. When you write the screenplay, it's like, we'll use something like this for that scene. And then it's whatever's cheap or affordable, whatever they can get, permission to use, right? Edgar Wright, on the other hand, is like, all right, I'm going to compile a playlist for this movie. In every scene, I have in mind what I'm going to do, and I'm going to know ahead of time what I can actually get approved to use. And we're going to... So he, from start to finish, he knows what track he's going to use.
Yeah.
For example... I have the soundtrack to 2 of his movies because they're so good. Last Night in Soho, amazing soundtrack. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, amazing soundtrack. This one's a great one, obviously. But he has a note in his Last Night in Soho thing where it's like, I had something ridiculous. It was like 1,400 songs where I was like, this is going to be the music for the movie. And then you like slowly whittled it down to like 300 songs, 200 songs. And then you ended up with like, okay, these are like the 20 tracks we're using. But so he's always got that in mind. And this movie, too, it uses so many, like, snippets of songs. The soundtrack's huge. It's like 30 or 40 songs. It's a ton. Because there's a lot where it's like, she's using 20 seconds of this, 30 seconds of this here. But, yeah, when he filmed this, he said it was like, it's like doing a music video. Because it's like, all right, we got to time everything just right. This is the song we're using, so this is how it's going. That's why he's able to do it, and it is just delightful. And no movie is so fun as to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Here's the thing.
That's what he's got going for him.
Here's the thing, Cody. I understand something now. It popped into my head, and it's like the fog has lifted, the clouds have parted, and I now understand the universe. I've reached nirvana. All right.
Okay.
I understand why the Aladdin movie was the way it was now. Here's why. The Disney execs who have seen the success, how like
what? Guy Ritchie,
not Guy Ritchie,
Will Smith,
the guy that we're talking, Edgar Wright. Took Guardians of the Galaxy as like, hey, we'll give you literally this D tier superhero team. Nobody cares about it. Literally nobody except for like 3 fans know who they are. Good luck, nerd. And then it's like, oh, guess what? This is your most successful, like, individual franchise of all of them. Like, This could be its own thing. It doesn't even need to be tied into the Avengers because it's its own very successful thing. Right?
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, nailed it. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to get ourselves another director that can do music stuff. All right, direct the movie. And then here, stop being a movie director. Direct a music video. And then start directing a movie again. Instead of doing what Edgar Wright does, where he's like, I'm going to treat the entire thing like a music video thing. And I'm like, so now I'm just like, I just want someone to tell Guy Ritchie to do that. Because it's like, we've seen it doesn't work when you stop. When you're like, all right, this is where the movie ends. And the Disney sing-along, music video starts. And then 3 minutes later, all right, movie's back on.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because Edgar Wright was the, original director for Ant-Man.
Yeah.
And so when you think about that, you're like, oh, that makes so much sense. But like the tone of Ant-Man and like the lip syncs they do and like the humor in Ant-Man, it's all there. He just left partway through because they disagree. So it's just a bummer where you're like, you take this guy who's made has a great cult following, has made really great movies, and Disney's like, right? They did it for James Gunn. Like you said, it worked out so well for Guardians.
Yeah.
And then you try to do it for Ant-Man, but for whatever reason, there was that, that distance where it's like, okay, didn't pan out. But Edgar Wright's that guy.
Sorry, that's why. Yeah, because I was like, so James Gunn. I know they've gone back and forth with him over being the, not giving
Guardians director.
So he left because he's like, I don't want to do what you guys want me to do. I'll do what I want to do. And then you tie it in a little bit, but he does that's something that people have praised the Disney, especially Marvel people for, is who is it? Kevin Feige, basically is the co-director of every movie, kind of, where and some directors are fine with that and some hate it.
Yeah.
Edgar Wright hated it. James Gunn hated it. And James Gunn actually everybody was so pissed that he left that they were like, all right, fine, you can do your own thing. Which kind of makes you think I think Ant-Man would be on the level of people liking it and would have a bunch of movies like Guardians. I guess they have the same number of movies, but I don't think there's any more planned Ant-Man movies, are there?
No, there is, because I think the next is going to be Quantumania.
Anyway, I would have liked it better if they had been similar. You'd have Edgar Wright and James Gunn doing those as their own little wacky things, and then you'd have Taika Waititi doing
no Thor. Shade to Ant-Man 1 and 2. The director who took it over did a good job. I just think shade. Edgar Wright would have done a slightly better job if he was able to do it.
I'll call him out right now. Let's see, Ant-Man. Oh, here we go. Ant-Man. Cody, get ready. I'm about to throw shade, all right?
Hold the shade.
Oh, gosh, it's hard. It's hard to find the thing. When you type in a thing and then you're like, where's the thing? And you find it. Peyton Reed. No one even knows who that is.
Yeah.
It's a guy. That's even worse. Right? Did you think that was a girl when I said Peyton Reed?
Let's say yes.
The director of Bring It On and Yes Man.
Hey, Yes Man's fun.
2 episodes of The Mandalorian. And 3
it is.
That
collaboration, it's such a bummer, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just weird because you look at the issues they have with directors where it's like, oh, I'm going to do my own thing. You just think they would clear it. I just wish they would say, hey, these are the beats you have to hit. Everything else is whatever you want to do, Because that's the point of a director, is their vision. So just a bummer. But then you look at the Russo brothers and it's worked out beautifully. For every Russo brother Marvel movie is the best one.
Yeah.
It's 'cause they did Winter Soldier and Civil War and Avengers, Endgame. We're just oh, they're great at it. But just a bummer that and they're writer directors too. So it's why didn't it work for Edgar Wright? Why didn't you get? And especially it's Ant-Man. Then they joke about Ant-Man is no one knows who he is anyway. So why can't he be his own thing? When he shows up in Civil War, they're he's hi, I'm Scott. They're okay. So. Yeah. I mean, Edgar Wright plus Paul Rudd, that sounds like a match made in heaven, On paper, you're this is going to be the funniest movie ever written. And it's going to be super, Whatever, it's fine.
But you know what?
I'm over it.
Whatever.
I'm not over it.
I know you'll never be over it.
Let's praise Baby Driver more, though.
Okay.
Here's one thing I loved about it. I loved it. It's for it being like a heisty action movie with a lot of like, all right, we'll do a shootout now. We'll do a chase. There's a high body count. There's like a really sweet underlying story of like this sweet boy, and he's trying to, have love in his life. And so I love that, like, as much as it's about like the car chases and everything, it's about him getting away. And I love the non-traditional ending that, he gets caught, like, obviously.
Yeah.
There's the beat where like he passes out and then she's driving the car and they're listening to the mom's tape, and it's like, oh, this would be such a nice ending. It's like, but it doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
And so then it's like, oh no, they get caught, and baby's like, no, we're done. He throws the keys away, goes to jail. We see the whole trial. We see him try to be a good person, and then he gets out at the end, So I just love that, like, very non-traditional ending, right? It's an action movie. How many action movies end on a beat like that? You're like, okay, we're done with the adrenaline. Now let's take a step and let's finish the story out. So I love that.
Yeah. And they bring back that, like, dream he keeps having where it's like her all black and white with the doors opening, and it's like, oh no, this is real. But it's real because it's all colored, and the color seeps in.
Okay, so let me ask you that question, because it's open-ended, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of an open-ended feel. Do you think it was real? Did he actually get parole and get to leave?
To me.
Or was it a fantasy?
Don't do this to me, Cody.
I'm just asking the question.
I was like, he's a dirtbag. Of course he's going to do this to me. He's going to be like, but did he really get out, or did he get killed in prison? And these are his last moments. And he's envisioning, what if I got out, as the blood pours out of him being shanked for the 87th time? You know what I mean? I think he got out.
I think so too. For the point you brought up, right? It goes from black and white to color. And also, like, you talk about the dream sequence, and when it's like first a fantasy, it's like, well, he's wearing like 1950s clothes, and so is she.
Yeah.
Whereas in the final one, it's like, no, like those are clothes they would wear, and and it goes to color. So I would say yes. And also, I'm just that type of person. But I read in the trivia that Ansel Igor and Lily James, who play the two leads, are split, where Lily James thinks it's real and Ansel Igor thinks it isn't. So this goes to show you.
But is that really what he thought, or did he just mumble what he thought, and they're like, all right, he probably thought that.
Probably.
They were like, also, what do you think? Do you think that he got out? Well, all right, print it. Ansel Igor thinks that he died in prison.
Yeah, right. I think, so I was very upset when this movie didn't win the Oscar for sound, because, like, it's doing something no one else is doing. Like, no one else is timing out an action movie to music cues, and doing it so it's such a fun movie, but there's still tension in the movie. There's still a nice background story. It's a very hard thing to balance and pull off. And this director pulled it off, and I thought it really should have won sound.
Yeah.
But it didn't, and I'm trying to look up. It probably lost, like, Dunkirk or some movie like that.
Some war movie.
But I was very upset when it happened. How did you feel about it?
I mean, I didn't watch it at the time, but now, yeah. But whoever won sound editing also won sound mixing, and it was definitely a war movie of some kind, because it always is.
Yeah. So it's just that's my thing about the sound, is it always like, oh, that war movie's pretty. I'm like, I get it. It's the same thing with the costume thing. It's like, okay, you made a period piece movie, and they had good costumes. I get it, but can we ever give it to anyone who is? It's like, you're automatically gonna win if you're a period piece for costume, and you're automatically gonna win if you're a war movie for sound.
Yeah,
really? Like, we're never gonna have any sort of,
like, if I was tasked,
any variation on that.
If I was tasked to make an Oscar bait movie, right? Like, honestly, I would go with, I would make a movie about the 100 Years War, right? Because it's like, you got cannons, so you can have explosions, but everything's in that period, like the Napoleonic period. So you have, like, all those costumes, so it's easy. You just go down to the costume shop. You don't even got to invest a lot of money. Everybody knows how to make these. You have to put a lot of time, effort, nothing into it. You get random people from the Renaissance Festival to make you all your costumes, all right? And then he just blows some stuff up, and it's like, here's 7 Oscars. Because you got the sound mixing, the sound editing, the sound feel, the sound taste, the sound look. You got the costumes, the costume design, the set. You just go film in a muddy field, and they're like, the set design was outrageous. And then you get it. Meanwhile, Dune 7 is like, we literally went to another planet to film, you know? What do we have to do to appease you?
Yeah.
And you know, some story about how a dog ate a sausage is going to win the best picture, so I wouldn't even shoot for that.
Yeah, you can't. You just can't. I'm trying to find the year Oscar this is from, and it's going really bad for me. Just in case you were wondering. So
let Daddy help.
I can't do it. I can't find it.
Daddy's coming.
I really thought I checked every year that around when this movie came out, and I guess I must have did it wrong. I must have did bad job, and it makes me feel bad.
It's 2018. The Shape of Water won
2018
Best
Oscars?
Picture. Yeah.
Which one did?
Shape of Water.
Lol. Remember that?
I do remember.
The fish.
I remember the fish sex
intercourse.
Movie. No, don't say intercourse. Call it what it is. It's fish sex. All right.
I found the year. It lost editing to Dunkirk.
It did list Dunkirk. You're right. You nailed it.
And which I already pulled up the year Dunkirk was in the Oscars, I thought, but I guess I'm wrong. So here's my thing. It lost sound editing to Dunkirk and sound mixing to Dunkirk. And it's just crazy. And so here's the sound awards. Dunkirk, Baby Driver, Blade Runner, Shape of Water, Last Jedi. Shape of Water, get that out of here. No one cares. Last Jedi had really good sound. Blade Runner had amazing sound.
It's such a rough year for it to have come out.
Right. Well, you're like, here's 2 amazing sci-fi movies. Here's a really... My thing about that is all those movies are good movies, but like Baby Driver's the most innovative.
It also...
Dunkirk, war movies are done all the time. Sci-fi movies are done... You know, sci-fi movies always have good sound. Baby Driver is the first one you're like, there's no movie like this. Like, I can't think of another action movie that is also a music video movie that also has like thriller elements and also has like romance. You know, like it's just not a kind of movie that exists. And so I feel like in that way it should get the sound award over Dunkirk, you know? And it was a bummer too, because I think that Dunkirk team does all those movies, you know? So it's like, this team has won before.
Here's the other thing.
I think once you get an Oscar, you shouldn't get any more.
Can I?
I think if you're an Oscar winner, you're done.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, you won your Oscar. Good job.
Yeah.
That's it. I think it should be the same for like MVPs in sports and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think it should be the same. It's like, hey, you won the MVP. Great job. Now let's see who else. Because there's so many like deserving people that are like, oh yeah, you got nominated 5 times for MVP, but sorry, it was the same era as LeBron James or Michael Jordan, so you're never gonna win it. You're like, right, but I'm good too, you know?
Cody, I
That's
got
how I
more
feel
for you. I got some more fuel to throw on the fire, right?
Yeah.
So it also, these weren't included in them, but they're 2 movies that are like show up on lists for, oh, I want to show off my sound or my fancy screen or something.
Yeah.
Kong Skull Island and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 also came out that year. So it does seem like, honestly, even being one of the nominees might be a big achievement that year. Why is Shape of Water sound mixing? That's what I want to know. Because
there's water. They do underwater stuff. They do underwater fish sex. And, you know, no one else is out here mixing that sound together.
All right, here's where we... Okay, let me stop you right there, Cody. All the people out here, I'm going to spoil Shape of Water. That picture, that's the end of the movie. That picture is the end of the movie. All right? Up until then, it's a lot of nothing. It's a lot of absolutely nothing, and a lot of I am looking at Abraham Sapien and Guillermo del Toro being like, what? That's what it is. That's the entire movie. It's you being like, that's the guy from Hellboy. And Guillermo del Toro being like, no, this is a sexy fish monster. And you say, yes, the guy from Hellboy. All right?
Yeah.
It's the same actor in the same costume.
Here's the other thing I'll throw at you. Would you not argue that in terms of directing, Baby Driver is a much more impressive achievement than the average film?
Absolutely.
So here's the nominees for directing that year: Guillermo del Toro for Shape of Water, he won. Chris Nolan for Dunkirk, Jordan Peele for Get Out, Greta Gerwig for Lady Bird, Paul Thomas Anderson for Phantom Thread. I'm not mad about any of those nominations. Shape of Water's okay. I guess I'm just mad Shape of Water won. Like, I feel like you could have put Edgar Wright. Like, in terms of directing, you're like, this guy took a very interesting concept and brought that vision to fruition, like, very well, to a much harder degree than Phantom Thread was, or maybe not. Shape of Water was like a crazy movie too, but I just feel like I'm not mad about Greta Gerwig or Paul Thomas Anderson, but I would swap either of those for Baby Driver any day.
I think
Get Out.
I don't know why people got so all up in their giblets about Shape of Water. I stand by the fact that it's not a very good movie.
I don't know. I have so much more to say. This is going to be a long one, and I'm very sorry. Here's the other thing. My thing about the sound thing is, you're right. They incorporate the tinnitus into the sound of the movie. So when he's listening to, when there's scenes that feature music, there's like a tinnitus buzz in the background. Like they went to that level of detail. There are scenes where you're popping earbuds in and out, and the audio is changing as a result, where it's like, hey, earbuds are in, it's all music. You take the earbuds out, there's like the faint tinge of music. Also, and there's even there's a scene where, at the end when Buddy is in the cop car and he's playing Brighton Rock on an iPod, and you'll know this if you were an iPod guy ever. I was, because I'm a filthy millennial. But when the car crashes and turns off, when he turns the car back on, the song is moved forward about 5 seconds because the iPod keeps playing because you never unplugged the iPod. There's so many small details like that. You're like, this is amazing directing. This is amazing use of sound. Like, this sound all makes so much sense, even in like the finest little details. That's why I think it should have had the sound award.
Oh yeah.
They used little to no CGI for all the driving stunts. It's crazy. You think about Edgar Wright's movies, and like Last Night in Soho, tons of visual effects because there's so many mirror shots and things, and like there's ghosts and things in the movie. And Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is like all effects. There's all these really interesting visual effects to make it look like you're watching a comic book happen. Then this movie, there's there's just like no CG in it, and we just did it all practical, and it looks great. It looks seamless.
Yeah, I would say this is my favorite heist movie, and it's not even a pure heist movie, right?
Right, because there's like 3 or 4 mini heists that aren't even really the focus, because it's just that you're just focused on the driver.
Yeah. But
you do get to see the run through of like, hey, here's the plan for the heist, and okay, you see it happening. But
okay,
it's a very interesting take on a heist movie.
Let me take it back. I'll tie it up. I think one of my favorite heist movies is actually the Guy Ritchie King Arthur one that everybody hates. So good. So good. So this is tied with a trashy Guy Ritchie movie. How does that make you feel?
Guy Ritchie, he's pretty good at the heist movies. So good at the heist I won't be mad. Love a good heist movie. So I have a ton of fun facts. Here's the next one.
Give me the fun fact. They
could not get legal clearance to use the Michael Myers Halloween mask. Cue in. It's in the script that they use the Michael Myers. And so they had the idea. So Edgar Wright was like, all right, how about this? We'll do Austin Powers, who's played by Mike Myers, Yeah. So like that's where that bit came from. So he phoned up Mike Myers, and was like, hey, hoping I could get clearance to use Austin Power mask for this bit. And he's like, that's hilarious. Do it. So he wasn't able to get permission to use the Halloween mask from the movie Halloween, but he did get an Austin Powers Mike Myers Halloween mask for it. So I love that that's where the bit came from. Made me really happy.
Can I pile on your fun fact a little bit there?
Yeah, please do.
But it's not really any more fun fact, but it's something that I've learned not super recently, but in the recent years of. Do you remember the like Friday the 13th game that came out recently, a couple years ago? It wasn't super popular, so I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't play it or anything. But that kicked off a discussion in a lot of like podcasts and stuff that I've listened to. People who are fans of that, where someone I think pointed out for like Friday the 13th and like Halloween and a lot of those big horror movie franchises are just a nightmare of licensing because they're horror movies. So like when they were first made, it was very much like, I don't know, Terry, you can have the rights. But also, like, the studio at the same time signed the same exact contract saying they owned the rights or something, you know. So it's like 6 different people own the rights to everything, and they all have to agree, but they all say the other people have no rights, so they'll all agree to stuff by themselves. And it's like, so, like, anytime you see a movie or like anything with one of those, like Friday the 13th or Halloween, get actually made, someone has jumped through hoops for years to get that made.
Wow.
And it's like, oh my gosh.
I'll tack on one final fun fact. Film buffs may know this one, but the Michael Myers Halloween mask is actually just a William Shatner Star Trek mask that they took a heat gun to, and they wear it out and stretch it out, and that's how you... So next time you see a Halloween movie, look at it and be like, that's just William Shatner's face stretched out. So it's kind of funny they couldn't get permission to that mask. You're like, that's not even a real... Originally, it was just another mask that they just stretched and wore out to look different, and that's where they got the mask for a serial killer in a horror movie. So, fun fact for you.
It is fun.
Some more fun facts. The scene at the oneer at the beginning of the movie where he gets the coffee, and because that's all one shot. Pans down to the building, he crosses the street, does all the dancing, gets the coffee, comes all the way back. Took him 28 takes to get all that, because the blocking was so specific and you have to get everything just right. So that's fun.
It is fun.
Someone made some merch for the movie where it's a baby on board. You know those stickers for cars? Yeah. It's like, hey, there's a baby on board. So they did that, but then they put Ansel Elgort's face in with the earbuds and so it says baby on board, but it's Baby Driver. So Edgar Wright stumbled on that one day, so he signed an autograph and left it for the driver.
Nice.
He's like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. So he's like, I approve. Signed Edgar Wright. At the beginning of the movie, they do all the TV lines, which is kind of a staple of Edgar Wright movies. He does it in a few different ones. So different lines going on. And it always ties in with the plot somehow. So it's really great. I love it. It's a good bit. But when they watch TV and he's flipping through the channels at the beginning of the movie, all those lines appear in the movie later. So we already talked about the Monsters, Inc. one. But there's the Little Rascals one where it says, you are so beautiful to me. You know, that one. He says that line to Debbie in the diner. He says, you're so beautiful. And then they grow up so freaking fast. That was one of the lines. And he says that when he has the crime nephew and all that. So just kind of funny that there's, it would, you would think that's just a throwaway thing, right? It's like, oh, it's kind of funny, right? They kind of line up with what's going on. But then they reuse all those lines throughout the movie. Originally, Emma Stone was going to play Deborah. She dropped out to do La La Land, which most people would argue is smart because I believe she won an Oscar for that performance, but I think she would have done just as well. But I thought Lily James was really great in it. And she's British, so anytime you get a British person to do a Southern accent, it works out. That's just the rule.
It's the only accent they can do.
Yeah.
They do it, They really go for it.
There's some lines about Jamie Foxx being like, what would I know about Barbra Streisand? Do I look like I know anything about Barbra Streisand? They are real-life friends, and they have done a song together.
I was going to say, I thought that when he said it, I was like, aren't you actually friends with her? Like,
yeah.
I'm pretty
real-life friends. They've collaborated on music together. Because Jamie Foxx is also a singer. Yeah. I don't know how anyone knows this, but according to the trivia, this is the first R-rated film to show Disney footage. So they got clearance to use the Monsters, Inc. clip, and they thank director Pete Docter in the credits for it. But nice. I don't know. I'm sure there has to be something somewhere, but they say it's the first one.
You say it.
So Edgar Wright, this goes back to Edgar Wright being a great director, but when he gave out scripts, he gave everyone an iPod with the script that said, hey, for this scene, this is the song we're using. So you would play that song when you read that scene on your script. So everyone got an iPod with their script to understand the music that was going on. Brilliant directing. When they were directing and he needed more stern, serious looks from Ansel Elgort, the catchphrase Edgar Wright would use is man driver. So instead of baby driver, he's like man driver for this scene. And then they'd go.
Man driver.
This is another detail. Part of the reason Baby Driver uses iPods is to stay off the grid. So he wouldn't use Spotify because easily trackable. So that's why he's got all this retro gear and an old TV and all these iPods. So pretty smart.
Yeah.
So they did interviews with different people to learn about heists and stuff. one of the ex-cons was like, oh yeah, no, I brought a nephew to case a bank once. So he's like, well, that's going in the script. That is the origin of the crime nephew. It's like, oh, a real criminal brought a nephew into a bank when they were getting ready for a robbery. So,
yeah, I mean, it makes you look less suspicious.
I saw one source that said Ansel Elgort was gifted the Subaru WRX as a birthday present after the film wrapped. So, that's fun.
That would be fun.
Edgar Wright is in this movie. His finger is the one that rings the doorbell when they deliver the pizza. So the close-up shot of the doorbell ringing, that's Edgar Wright's finger. Yeah. Fun fact. He's also in a reflection of one of the store windows in one of the tracking shots.
That's fun.
Brighton Rock, classic deep cut Queen track. That's the one they play at the end of the movie. It is actually the same story as the movie. It's about like an outlaw falls in love with the waitress. So that's fun little detail. And those are my fun facts.
Cody, I'd say those are pretty fun. Not the most fun facts, but they're pretty fun.
Yeah. I guess my favorite thing about the movie is like I feel like when there's an action scene, I'm like all in. I'm like, this is great. I'm all about this. But then when there's like a little romance scene with like Baby and Deborah, I'm like, this is delightful. You know, I'm all in on this too. And then when there's like a very suspenseful scene where it's like, oh gosh, he's driving around criminals and they're going to get him in trouble and they just shot all these people. Like, I'm all absorbed into that too. So that's what I really like about the movie. I feel like I'm all in. And it's kind of a fantasy, right? Like, I don't think all the details are always right. Maybe part of it is because this is a UK director doing an American movie. But for example, like there's the scene where Buddy is at the restaurant. He has a gun hidden in a newspaper. And so he's like, you know, holding them hostage essentially and trying to get his revenge. And a police car pulls up with lights flashing. You're like, well, a police car wouldn't have lights flashing to go use the bathroom. But it was such a good mood for the scene to have like police lights flashing and so good for the tension. They're like, I don't mind it at all. You know, I don't mind like the fantasy and escapism of the movie because I thought it just worked so well to tell a great story.
Yeah. But also, are you trying to tell me you've never known like a cop or something that you ask him, if you really had to go to the bathroom, would you turn your lights and siren on? And they wouldn't be like, abso-freaking-lutely, yes.
I hear what you're saying. Just like their car's parked. They're parked at a diner that's basically empty. So why are their lights flashing?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Just
leaving
like
them
that.
on, that's a whole separate thing.
I did, so originally the movie was supposed to take place in LA. And then just because of tax breaks and everything, it just worked out better to do it in Atlanta. But Eddie Wright was like, hey, I'm going to get some like local Atlanta writers together. And so we'll spruce up the script and make it very specific to Atlanta. So I really like that because, you know, the cop cars say Atlanta PD and there's all those details. You know, they talk about the spaghetti circle and the specific highways that they use. And so I really liked that they did that. It made it feel like very authentic. Where it's like, oh no, this is specific to this town. And they actually did their research, you know, which I really liked.
Yeah, because I felt like a lot of, you know, it does seem like a lot of places they'll film in Georgia because of the tax breaks. But they'll be like, here we are in Los Angeles. And then it's like, nope, that's not Los Angeles. Or you're right, it's New York. Nope, that is not New York.
Yeah, when I first watched it, I was trying to figure out, I was like, where does this take place? Why do they have Southern accents? I assumed it was like Chicago or LA or something, you know, so I was confused. When you look at the details, you're like, oh, it says Atlanta all over the place. Like, you know, they don't like highlight it everywhere. But you're like, when he's going through the mall, he has like an Atlanta, you know, one of the, like the hoodie he grabs is like an Atlanta, welcome to Atlanta or whatever. They talk about like the peach, whatever it is, the peach something, whatever the name of their shopping center is. You know, so there's all those details like, no, this is definitely in Atlanta. And the nice thing about setting it in Atlanta and shooting it in Atlanta is you don't have to worry about those details, you know? You're not saying it's in LA and you're like, oh crap, all these license plates say Atlanta. We didn't change that they were Georgia plates or whatever.
Yeah.
So just, I liked it. It was a nice touch.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, it is nice because, you know, like I said, there's just it feels like there's so many times where they're filming somewhere and they're like, here we are in the desert. And it's like in the middle of like, they're obviously in British Columbia and it's like, you're not in the desert. Mm-hmm. Why would you even say that why would you write a thing that says you're in the desert and then film it in a rainforest?
Right, yeah.
But, yeah, the attention to detail in the movie is just ridiculous. I liked how like everything, like you said, it comes from him writing and directing it, where it's like everything feeds into like nothing's just randomly there.
Mm-hmm.
And like the end is it? Oh, what? Oh no!
Go ahead.
No, I know.
I was just gonna say he writes all those details, and he doesn't do a lot of improv on set. He normally doesn't allow it. So it's very rare that he does, and he made an exception for Jamie Foxx, and so like the Oscars line, that was improvised. But generally, because it's so well written, he's like, no, this is what we're doing. Like, and because all the visuals tie into it, you can't improvise because like, no, everything you say, we have visual cues around you that all, it all ties into each other. So
yeah. I at the end where it all starts to like kick off, right? And he kills bats, which I was like, oh, he's gonna do it, and then he did it, and I was like, I felt like a winner personally. I felt like a winner when he did that, and then just everything falling apart, and him and the criminals running, and then him calling Doc for help, and like. It was just all like the fact that at the very end of it, Buddy was like the villain and Doc is the one trying to help him. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is all backwards of where I thought this was going to end up and all that. Like I expected it to be Doc trying to keep him there and Buddy helping him out.
Yeah.
And it's all turned on its head, Cody. Here's what they did. They took my expectations right here. They're right here. And they subverted them, Cody.
Oh, my goodness.
Got right up under.
Not unlike how Baby Driver jumped over the car.
You don't like that?
I love that.
Oh, you do like that?
I love that shot. Yeah. No, it was a great shot.
It was very cool. It was all practical, too, probably, right?
Yeah. You got to,
Ran and jumped over a speeding car, I've seen people do it.
Man. What else is there to say about this one? Are you ready to give it a grade?
Mentally or spiritually, you know what I mean? Physically, yes. Mentally, maybe. Spiritually, I don't know.
Do you want me to tell you my grade?
You tell me your grade.
I would give this one an A. Only for the gripe I have, where just like some of the mumbling, for how good the dialogue is, we didn't capture it as cleanly as I wanted. Aside from that, like I really think it's very masterfully done, very cleverly written. And just it's a lot of fun, but it also isn't just like silly for silliness sake. It's still a great story and still good tension, and in that way it's a absolute delight. Give it an A.
I mean, so I agree with everything good you're saying. The mumbling was less of an issue for me, right? Because as an adult, I feel like I can figure that out, what he was trying to say, Like, I'm not saying I'm better than you. I'm just saying, like, I'm just implying that I am. That's the real.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the most telling thing's got to be that I ordered the Steelbook before it was even done, right? Before the movie was even over. So I feel like because of that, I've always said buying the Steelbook is the highest praise I give a movie. I have to give it an A+, right?
Yeah, I'd say you're right.
Yeah, it deserves it, doesn't it? Does it, Cody? You know what? Oh no, I'll give it a C. I'll give Dunkirk the A+. We'll do that. No. I'm here trying to right wrongs. Let's go back. I give Edge of Water an F. The Shape of Water, not Edge of Shape of Water and F. And this
the
one
Edgar
A+.
of Water.
Edgar of Water. Guillermo del Toro, Edgar Wright team up to make a fish sex movie, all right? It's a sequel to both of the movies.
Oh my goodness, now we're talking. Can you imagine fish sex is underwater, but also timed to tequila?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Abraham Sapien returns as man driver.
Baby driver. Fishman driver.
Fishman driver.
Yeah. Oh. Now you're talking. Well, I'm so glad you liked it. I would strongly recommend this movie to many people. It's got that right mix. It's a lot of fun. It's well done, and we can all enjoy it. If you like this one, I would definitely check out his other. Edgar Wright's got great movies. His worst movies are still like very enjoyable. He doesn't make any duds. Everything from Shaun of the Dead through Last Night in Soho. Very good. And look, if you're not an R-rated movie person, check out Scott Pilgrim vs. World. It's not rated R, and it's just as delightful. So much humor, much fun, and good job, Edgar. We're all on board. Thank you very much for listening. You can share us, rate us, and review us wherever you find podcasts. You can gripe at us at Opinion Havers on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. Thank you for listening. Till next time, watch movies.
And have opinions.
Someone asked Edgar Wright why that dude had like all those guns in his car in one of the middle heists and with the Mike Myers mask. He's like, well, they're in America, and he was in the Marine Corps. So, of course, he would get in his giant truck and drive around with the automatic weapon chasing after the criminals. I was like, yeah, it checks out. Yeah.
I just assumed that he was like a second security guard or something for the thing. To know that he's not makes it that much more ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's just what other people think. When you think America, they're like guys with trucks and with automatic weapons, just ready to fight the criminals.